Welcome to the Greener Gifting Gang podcast, the show that delves into the reasons we love to choose, wrap, and share gifts with each other. Hi, I'm your host, Eve Kale, founder of Gift Wrapped by Eve, and I'm on a mission to help you experience the joy of gift giving while also considering the planet. Each episode, I'll be sharing ideas or interviewing guests who will help inspire your choice of gifts and how you present them. Whether that's for your own gifts or products you create or sell in your small business, we'll help you consider how to make small changes that can help your gifting be a little greener. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Greener Gifting Gang podcast, and I'm delighted to have another guest with me this week. Danny has joined me today, and we are going to be chatting about her business and her eco adventures with Eco-Able, and I'm sure we're going to be covering lots of things that you are really going to enjoy hearing about. So over to you, Danny, to introduce yourself properly.
Hi Eve, it's lovely to be here. Yeah, I'm Danny and I am a children's author. I also run a small business called Eco-Able, and through the business I specialise in purposeful, sustainably made children's books for early years and things like made to last gifting and educational resources and activities. So a real mix.
Yeah, fantastic. So, tell us a bit more about how did you get started, doing those things? Which came first? Was it the books or was it the eco business or was it a bit of a mixture?
So the business came first. I had stepped back from early years teaching
Mm.
and was kind of looking for my next step. And I just happened to have a conversation with my sister about Plastic Free July. And she was frustrated. She couldn't find what she was looking for in one place. She was sort of like, oh, I'm having to go here, there, and everywhere. And it's making it much, much harder. So I think I just kind of thought maybe that's something I could do. Maybe I could curate great sustainable product in one place and learn along the way which ones are good, which ones aren't so good, which ones work for different people, different range of budgets and that kind of thing. So I just kind of started from there really and just sort of onboarded my first suppliers, started selling at events, and then it kind of grew from there. And the books kind of came maybe a couple of years into that sort of that journey. We'd hit COVID and I'd already started talking to an illustrator about this book, actually, the one that has been released today. So this one's
Mm.
been a long time coming. And we kind of were talking about that one originally. And then because I had the sustainable business, I kind of thought, actually, it'd be really nice to write a children's book about sustainability, waste in the environment, at a level that they can understand and get involved in that conversation. So we started working on that book in COVID because we were both home and we had a bit more time, as we all did back then. So it kind of started from there. And then, yeah, I've done the books alongside the business and then they've become kind of more part of the business. And then last year, I changed the business to be more about children's business for
Okay.
families, education, and that kind of stuff. So the books are much more central to the business now. So it's slightly changed from when I first started.
Yeah. I mean, there are so many different ways that you can go with an in inverted commas eco-friendly business, aren't there? There's just so many different options, and I love hearing how you kind of evolved what you're doing, and because it is a bit of a journey, isn't it? So tell us a bit more about the what are the books about? So you mentioned to me before we started recording that this is the fifth book. Is that right?
Yes, so I have a book out today called Mine. It's the first book I ever wrote. Back when I was teaching, I used to kind of write down little stories inspired by the kids that I was working with. And it's the first one I actually wrote, and it was the first one I thought about getting illustrated, but it just was at the right time. I don't know, it just didn't. I felt like that I had other stories that were more pressing that I wanted to get out there. So last year was amazing being able to start working on it properly and getting it made into a proper book. So yeah, it's very exciting when you write books and you actually get them physically made and in your
Yeah.
hands. But I made the decision when I did my first book that I would self-publish so that I could control how they were made. And so the books are quite unique in that they are made without any plastic lamination on the covers. They're made on 100% recycled carbon balanced paper, and that's certified by the World Land Trust. So I'm using eco inks, and we use a local printer in Gloucestershire. So I'm just kind of really mindful that when I'm creating something like that, of how I'm doing it, the materials I'm using, because I think it's really important if we're going to put stuff out in the world that we take responsibility and ownership of how we're doing that.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So that's really quite different and unique, isn't it? Because that's not something that I'd really considered. I'm on my own eco journey myself, made lots of changes, small changes along the way, but I'd never really considered about the books that I'm reading and, where they're made, what they're made from actually. How did you start finding out about how to do this? It must have been quite an adventure.
I started working with Anna, my illustrator. So she is from a business called Thistle Moon. She's an amazing illustrator, and I just love her work. I love her style of illustrations. So we just started working together. But then I knew once I'd got illustrations and the words, I needed to do something with that. Which is then when I found Tash from Culpepper and Co. And she helps to design the books. So she formats them, she helps get the text right. Um, and make them looking like a proper book ready for print. So that's such an important step, because that would have, yeah, I'm not sure how long that would have taken me if I tried
Yeah.
to do that myself. It's quite specialist, and it's amazing getting to work with other people as part of the whole project. So I'm really lucky in that sense that it's a real sort of collaborative journey to create something like a book, a physical product.
Yeah, so you're finding the right people to kind of help you along with the vision of what you're trying to create. It's not just a case of, I mean, you hear people talking about in the business world, you hear people talking about how easy it is to write a book, create a book, get it out there. Um, but I hadn't actually considered maybe the ethics to how if you can get something out there really quickly, how is it being produced? No idea. Hadn't really considered it, and I'm sure actually that is probably something that um, needs to be investigated more, especially if you're trying to, in the product that you're trying to do. Are they all about? They're not all about sustainable.
So
No,
we three that are sustainable themes.
yeah,
One that's a child bereavement book, and
yeah,
then a new book is a book about sharing. It's a really lovely story to
yeah,
help young children in learning about the world around them and
yeah.
how to.
Oh, that sounds absolutely lovely. So who do you think that the books are sort of aimed at? Are they aimed at what sort of age groups? So they're illustrated stories. Are they so they're primary school age?
So I would say the best age group for them is 3 to 8. The child bereavement book, I'd say 3 to 11
Mm.
is absolutely fine. But actually, that one, I find that adults like that one as well, because it's just a really lovely, gentle story and can just really support people going through bereavement and grief. So I don't think there's not always a age limit. I think that we have this notion that picture books are just for little ones, but actually there's a real magic in them, and I bet we can all remember our favorite, book from when we were young, and they hold such special memories, those kind of books. So yeah, but the optimum age range is probably 3 to 8 for the rest of
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking about that in terms of probably in the case of your books, a child wouldn't necessarily be choosing it themselves, but they might have an adult who's choosing it for them, choosing it potentially as a gift. And obviously, on this show, we talk about gifts and giving and what makes a good gift and a greener gift as well. So, do you think that your books are, obviously not the bereavement book in that sense, but the other books, do you see them being purchased as a gift for somebody?
We send out an awful lot of books as gifts, including the bereavement one. Actually, enough, that one is a popular gift, because sometimes when people don't know what to send someone who's grieving, especially children or family, they select the book, and that's a really lovely way to say, we're supporting you, we're here for you. But yes, the books, And actually, we send out a lot of baby gifts using the books, gift boxes, which include the books, because I think reading from birth is just such a wonderful thing to do. Hearing an adult read to a child, a parent, a grandparent, an auntie, an uncle. It's just such a special time in a child's daily routine. And if you can start them really young with it, then the language they're going to be hearing and all of that's going to be is, it's amazing what it does. So yes, lots and lots of book gifting going on. I think it's a wonderful gift to give. I love getting books.
I mean, yeah, I give books. I love receiving books, and in terms of new baby gifts, I think that's a wonderful idea because it's sometimes really difficult to know what to get somebody, especially if it is not a first child. You know, if people are, they've maybe got enough clothes, blankets, all
Yeah.
of those different things. But a book, especially, if it's a newer book or something a bit different, like what you've put together, it's a it's a lovely gift. It sounds like a really special gift as well. So are they packaged up in a sort of, you package them up for people? Do you wrap them, or how do you sort of present them?
So for the books, they all have their own book wrap, actually, which we design and make with the illustrations. So people can select to add that as the gift wrap, and it wraps around the book, and it has a lovely little bit that says the gift of reading for, and then you can pop the name of whoever the recipient is. And I
Mm,
just think that's a really special way to send a gift.
yeah,
I always like something that's wrapped and packed a little beautifully whilst being eco-friendly. So I
yeah.
don't think it's one or the other. I think you can definitely have both.
Yeah, yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think you just, if you're carefully selecting what you're using, and obviously it sounds like you have really researched all those different elements. Sounds lovely that it picks up on the illustrations that are in the book too. Yeah, how lovely. I must go and have a little look and check that out. And we'll pop all the details in the show notes so that people can go and have a little look as well. So how about gifting in your own life? What kind of occasions do you tend to give gifts for?
I mean, I'm a gifter. It's my love language. I love giving gifts. I love choosing gifts. I love sending them. I just think there's something really nice when you see something for someone and you think that's going to be perfect for this person. I know they're going to love it. So yeah, I'm a real gifter, but I really like giving things that are thoughtful. It's not just any old thing. Because I think we all have a lot of stuff. So I think unless it's something really special that you've really thought about, then it's a lovely gift when you can find something that really suits the person. Yeah, so I'm well known for being a bit of a gifter.
Yeah, I just noticed because you've got a lovely background on your recording on Zoom, and you've got a lovely background, and it talks there about the heirloom made to last gifts in your business. And I think, is that not necessarily heirloom for all gifting, but you're really careful, would you say, about what you choose and what you're buying the gifts? Has that always been the case, or do you feel like that's changed?
I think it's probably the more mindful I've been about sustainability, the
Mm.
better I've got at kind of being really careful and conscious. I mean, I know years ago I started making my children their own reusable advent calendars because I was just fed up of plastic rubbish, chocolate filled ones that, get chucked away and not thought about. And that was probably years and years ago that I started making those and thinking about the gifts that would go in, whether I did a treasure hunt for them or plastic free sweets or chocolates or something, or little anything, getting bits from the charity shop, or doing a beach comb and getting lovely sea glass or something. So I think I've always been a bit like that. And I think that sort of stems from my childhood where my mum was very thrifty. My mum was very, thoughtful and conscious about things. I remember making gift tags out of old Christmas cards and things like that.
Mhm.
And I just think there's something really lovely in, you know, that kind of process of, I don't know, just being mindful about gifts and just doing things that then become part of your tradition. things that you do every year or for every birthday or every Christmas. And I just really love that. And I love that it's more mindful and we're slowing it down a little bit and
Yeah.
perhaps putting things away to get out again next year.
Yeah, there is this sort of return to that, isn't there? I feel like this is a theme that keeps coming up when I'm chatting to people, this real theme of maybe going back to how things were and the slowing down and those are the kind of things, some of the things that you just spoke about are the kind of things that I did as a child, making gift tags. We'd often make gifts for people. I mean, it was about being, it wasn't really I wouldn't say it was particularly environmental, but it was more to do with spending less and being just, it wasn't a time of there being a great deal of money and being particularly showy, I think, about things. And it's a really difficult thing. We're really exposed to so many different opportunities to buy things now, aren't we? And it's hard to be different from
Yeah,
that.
and I think
Yeah.
we've really fallen into that throwaway culture where it's kind of like, oh yeah, it's okay, I can just chuck it away. It's fine. I can just recycle it. I can just get it out and away from me and I don't have to think about it. But I think if we thought more about the things that we buy, especially as gifts and things like that, as something that we'll have forever and that's our responsibility forever, then I think we start to think a little differently about the things we buy, the things we gift, and how we go about all of that. Because
Yeah.
I think we can have lovely gifts, we can have beautiful homes, we can have lovely things, but we can do it in a much more sustainable way. And then the things that we have become really special. They're the things that we really want in our homes. Yeah. So I think there's a space for that now.
Yeah, I think there is. And I think the things, it's lovely being able to chat to different people about the ways that they're doing that. And, your business is an example, is one that's helping people to do that because it is a bit of a minefield. If you start thinking about how am I going to do this? Where do I start? It's, sometimes it's a bit of a challenge because the easy option is to pop to the supermarket or, your local retail park and just pick something up, or at least it feels easy.
Yeah, and I think, we're all time poor these days. Money isn't, everywhere. Budgets are tighter. Time that we can spend doing things is less. So I do think there's difficulties against sort of living a bit slower. I think if there are small ways you can make changes, then actually that can have a huge impact in of itself. So I don't think we need to be doing everything all the time. I think we do, if popping to the supermarket while you do your shop and getting some bits there, helps you save time, money, and energy, then that's absolutely fine. We can only do what we can do with the time we've
Yeah.
got.
Yeah.
Big sort of advocate of that, no judgment.
Yeah. Yeah. And we can judge ourselves as much as we might feel that other people are judging us. They probably aren't, but we're probably doing it to ourselves. I know that I certainly do. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, especially around Christmas time, because I think it's Christmas time is one of those where you are also being really influenced by the people around you. You're exchanging gifts maybe with lots of different people. There are lots of people to please. And it can be a real challenge not to feel like you're not doing a good enough job if you're trying to be a bit more eco-friendly. How do you cope with this? Because you're a giver. How you said to yourself you're a giver. How do you go about making these decisions, do you think?
I think it's challenging, isn't it? And I think it is all about, I think I didn't suddenly wake up one morning and have everything cracked. I wouldn't say I still do, but I think I've made swaps and changes over time. So a few years ago at Christmas, I swapped to all fabric wrapping paper. So paper, fabric, and that's my gift wrap for all the family. So we all have a different color. There's no sew. I've just got pinking shears and I've chopped it up, and I use scrap ribbon and string. And every year I pack it all away, and everyone has like a little bag that their wrapping goes in, and then it comes out the next year. That was such an easy swap to make, and I realized you could do it with, pre-loved fabrics. all sorts. There's so many beautiful fabrics out there. End of roll, tablecloths, anything you can kind of chop up that looks lovely and festive is perfect, and it works really, really well. And the kids love it, and everybody loves it because there's no waste.
Yeah.
You haven't got big bin bags of paper going, having to work out which can be recycled, which can't, what's got glitter on, it's literally everything gets wrapped in fabric and then it gets reused and put away for the next year. So that was kind of a change that I made. And it felt like at the time, gosh, how's this going to work? People are going to love it. But because we've all got different colors, it makes it look really festive and lovely. And actually, you can wrap with fabric really beautifully.
Yeah.
So, yeah, big fan of fabric gift wrap, I have to
Yeah.
say. And reusing fabrics that perhaps would go to waste to do that. So I do that now for birthdays as well. I make fabric gift wrap for my own business. Yeah, and I just think it's a lovely addition to gifting.
Yeah, yeah, definitely something that I'm doing more of now, and I've been working with a couple of places that create the fabric. If for some reason you can't do it yourself, you haven't got time, there are different options as well um, for buying fabric, and you're right, it is a really easy option once you get the hang of it. And also you've got to slightly change your mindset about how you wrap as well. Um,
Yeah,
and
I think initially
if
it's a bit like, oh, how am I going to wrap this? I don't know what it might be, a record or a book or something. How am I going to wrap that to make it look
yeah,
nice? I think you can do amazing
yeah,
things with
you
fabric
can. And also
and you're away. And once you've kind of had a practice, I think that's the key, is like have some fun with it, get
yeah,
some friends over, have a practice, wrap some gifts together and make it just something that you enjoy doing. And the results, then will come once you've had a few goes at it.
yeah. Yeah, definitely the mindset of enjoying it, not taking it too seriously, and not, and enjoying the process really, because it's part of the gift giving process. Let's not get stressed out by it. And with the birthday gifts, do you ask people to return the fabric to you, or do you give it as part of the gift?
So if it's wrapping that I've made for the business, it does have a little tag on which tells you can give it back to your gifter or keep it to reuse. So yeah, it's an either or. I usually give it as part of the gift, and that becomes part of the present. But I don't, I use anything. I can use, like, sometimes you get fabric bags with clothing that you buy or anything like that. I'll reuse that, and I think I have a lovely sort of reciprocal arrangement with my sister that she'll do the same. So often we get the same piece of fabric or the same bag going backwards and forwards. But I think that's really lovely
Yeah.
because you see it and you go, oh, that's lovely, that's that piece of wrapping.
Yeah, yeah. We
Yeah.
do the same thing with paper actually, because I'm a rescuer of wrapping paper. Um, so I'll be rescuing wrapping paper and then return it to somebody, or we'll go, oh, where did this come? Where did this one come from originally? Oh, it was about 3 years ago,
Yeah.
and so and so gave it, and that it's got a bit of history to it, which is quite funny. Yeah, I think that's really nice to pick one thing, isn't it? Pick one thing that you want to change. So for me, last year I bought fabric to make crackers with. And then this year was the first year then I got it all out. I bought some felt, I think they were made fabric hats to go with them as well. And I got them all out again. I said, please, can I make them again? Even though we're not hosting, can I make the crackers again this year? And then I actually, in the end, made two lots of crackers, because we had one on Pretend Christmas here and then one on Christmas Day. So they got used twice this year, and then they've been put away again. But what I think was interesting was that nobody really protested this year. Everybody kind of went, yeah, okay, that's what we're doing. And I'm kind of in charge of the crackers. But I think it's the shifts, isn't it? It's bringing people along with your vision, and actually, if you do it slowly, you're probably more likely to have people kind of accept the changes. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think as well, it's sort of listening to what people want as well. So I made the switch to fabric crackers years ago, and I make them again as part of the business, and I do workshops showing
Yeah.
other people how to do it. And I remember when I first started making them, I just made them as one piece of fabric. And my husband he was just devastated because he wanted to pull the cracker. And he was like, I can't believe that I can't pull the cracker. Like, this is a bit miserable. So I then reworked them and now I have a pullable version as well
Mm. Yeah.
because that, that's Christmas to him. And I just think you can tweak it. You can have both. So we now have switched to pullable crackers, but I do both for the business because some people love it as a cracker gift and other people love it as a pullable cracker, the same as other crackers. And I think that is an important thing, is that you're taking people with you, but you're also listening to their ideas, and then you can kind of adapt things a little bit. So I think there's always a way to please everybody
Mm.
somehow.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. There is compromise, isn't there? There has to be some compromise. And
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I'm intrigued as to how you do that because I have only done ones without a bang and I made everybody say bang. We crossed our arms, we said bang, and then we unwrapped them.
Okay, yeah, you can, if you do two pieces of fabric, you can then pull them and they do work. I don't put a bang in because I haven't found a sustainable bang option. If there's one out there, then I'll be all over it.
They're pullable, but you don't actually, they don't bang. Okay, so that's like an in between.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a compromise.
Oh, I
Yeah,
like that. Oh, brilliant. Well, my option is just to say bang.
that too. I think that's a great idea.
Fantastic. So, you've talked a lot about how, how you do your wrapping. So you do all your wrapping in fabric now. It's completely moved away from paper wrapping, apart from the books the paper wraps that go around your books in your business.
So we do have some wrapping paper as well, and because I think it's great to give people options, and obviously we're mindful about how we make that and the materials, and
Yeah.
on FSC paper and all of that kind of stuff, and making sure it's fully recyclable. So we do have that as well. But yeah, that I think it's sort of, I like the idea of kind of having different options, but being mindful about it, and helping people make those choices, but in a more sustainable way. So obviously we don't have glitter and we don't have paper that you can't recycle. So I think those are kind of the ways that we can sort of help support people to make those choices by choosing materials that they can either reuse or recycle, and that are made from, perhaps paper that's been sourced sustainably and that kind of
Mhm.
thing. All of those things are important.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. Do you have any particular gift memories of your own that stand out? A special gift that someone has given to you, or something special that you remember giving to somebody else?
I would probably go back to books. I think
Hmm.
I'm just obsessed with books. I do believe though, like, a good book, a lovely book, something thoughtful. I think I gave my sister a beautiful poetry book this year, and I just think sometimes you sort of, I don't know, you can see lots of things, can't you? And it can get a bit overwhelming. But I think sometimes sitting down and curling up with a beautiful book that someone's bought for you or you've bought for them, I just think you still can't beat that, even in the digital world when we're so plugged in and everything's so fast. Slowing down with a book, I just think that's one of the most special books you can receive or give.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're not only giving the physical book, are you? You're giving somebody an opportunity to take some time out.
It's kind of, well, I've got a book, so I have to sit down and read it, and that's
Yeah.
we all don't do enough of.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think some of the best books that I've been given have been surprises as well. Although I often will put a book on a wish list. I love getting surprise books and then being surprised about how much I enjoy them. Or, not necessarily fiction books. I was given an almanac this of the year for Christmas. And I'm really enjoying kind of dipping into that and having a little look.
Yeah. I really love the behind the scenes, of your favorite TV show or film, those behind the scenes books. I love kind of those where you can kind of, like you say, dip in and out of little snippets and things. So I think there's a book for everybody out there for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Great, great answer. Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, it's been great to talk to you. So many different aspects of your business and what you're doing and how you're helping other people to choose the gifts more sustainably. I think it's absolutely fantastic. So If people want to find you and find out more about what you're doing, where is the best place for them to follow you or find you?
So they can visit the website, which is www.eco-able.co.uk. Or I'm on Instagram an awful lot, probably more than I should be. And it's at eco_able. So if you want to kind of hop over there, you can always send me a message or interact with any of my posts and that kind of thing. And we can carry on that conversation.
Brilliant. Thank you. Well, we'll put all of that in the show notes so people can come and find you, check out your books, especially the new one, which is out today as we're recording, which is really exciting. Thank you so much, Danny. I've absolutely loved chatting with you today. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Greener Gifting Gang podcast. For free resources, head to giftwrappedbyeve.com/freebies and follow Eve on socials at giftwrappedbyeve on Instagram and Facebook.